Hi guys, so I'm going to do demo 2 here on the layout that we just demonstrated to everybody. And in this case we're going to start by looking at the schedules in some detail. And the way I go at this when I start out is I look at my outer track, and it's cycling in this direction, and in the modules that we have chosen for this demo layout, there are in fact no crossovers between the inner and the outer track. So we've got a pretty simple outer track. Stretch and I, when we talked about it, decided that we should have 2 places to load and start trains and stop them. And that is in this block here, the Alpine outer, and in this block down here, the River Bridge outer. And so effectively we need a schedule that departs from Alpine outer and runs around and would terminate in River Bridge outer, or hand over to a successor that runs from River Bridge outer around here and ends or terminates. And so we need those 2 schedules, and in fact I call them outer loop A and B. So here is outer loop A, starts here with a green headlight, runs around and ends here with the brown red signal. And the outer loop B, you can see, starts down here with the green bar and runs around and stops here in the Alpine outer. So those are the 2 schedules, and each schedule has a successor, and each schedule has a condition. So if I go back to the show layouts, we've got a stop button up here that we can press, and when it's pointed to the stop marker, in this case, it's going to stop a train here, and when we point this one to the stop marker, it's going to stop a train coming in here, and be used as a condition to stop the successor schedule running around here from starting, just as I demonstrated in the part 1 video. So basically, let me go back to, this is what's called a dispatcher screen, and what one does is pick a starting block, highlight this end as being green, pick the next block in the schedule, this block, and this block, and set this as an endpoint. And when you've done those items, yes, let's get out of that, and we're going to have an outer loop B, we're going to call it, and it's going to have a successor of the outer loop A, and this schedule is only going to work if the River Bridge, so where it starts, the River Bridge outer block, the switch is not turned on. So we basically do exactly the same in the outer loop A, where again we're going to decide whether or not outer loop A starts based on whether the switch over here is now on. So we've talked about the 2 switches to stop this schedule, but now we need to look at the switch that we add to start the schedule, and basically it's a momentary switch, a button that momentarily sends a signal out. And if we look at it, it says the name of this switch is Launch Outer Main Schedule A, and it has no condition, and the operation is, and if we go down here and look at these are all the schedules we've got, but the one we've picked is outer loop A. So what's going to happen is, as soon as we press that, it's going to try and start outer loop A, and as long as the condition of the stop switch has to be off if we want to start that schedule. So, and we would repeat that down here, where we would put another, I'm having to go in and out of edit mode here, but anyway, Here we would have another momentary switch, and it is a push button, and again it starts outer loop B. So, basically the outside schedules are pretty straightforward for setting up. So when we come to the inside track, where we are now running in a clockwise direction, the situation is quite a bit more interesting because we have a yard here where we can store trains, where we can either travel through the yard. If this was in fact a station, we could travel in, stop at a station here and travel back out again, or if it's simply a storage yard, we could leave from here, do our loops around the inner track, and then come back to either the same siding that we left from or to another siding where we in fact fit in. And various schedules will need to be built. And in this case, the way that I look at it is we will have 6 places that we can leave from. That's 1, A, B, and C, D and E, or F. And in each case, when we leave the yard, we want to come around to the very first block in the direction of traveling. So we'll have a schedule that starts here and ends here. And then we will have a loop that starts here and run around, and it'll stop here where our stop block is before we pick up a schedule that will run us back into whichever yard siding we want to go to. So that's essentially the plan that we would have. The stop block is over here. And the reason the stop block is here is so that we can decide to launch a schedule to return to one of these yard spurs. And if it was just on a loop, there's no way you could interrupt that loop and say, hey, do this, without stopping it and stopping its normal successor and then saying, okay, this is what I want you to do. So this, again, what we will do is have a look at the dispatcher screen and have a look at a couple of the schedules and see how they're built. So this is the dispatcher screen, and for starters, we will look at inner loop A. So this is the long loop. It starts in hiking inner with a green bar, and it runs around all the blocks, and it ends in pumpkin inner. And then comes inner loop B, which joins that up, starts here, and comes around to hiking inner. So this loop B will have loop A as a successor to run around, and this schedule, loop B, will have a condition on it that only allows it to start if we haven't turned on the stop switch. So it's exactly as we described in the previous one. So that's fairly straightforward. Now let's jump back to the show layout, and here we've got leave from yard, and each of these is a different case, has to be handled individually. And each one has a push button, and each one of these push buttons will have a schedule attached to it. Leave, hiking inner. And so let's have a look at the dispatcher and leave yard C for hiking inner. Okay. The successor to that is going to be the inner loop A. We're cool with that. And there's basically no conditions. We're just going to run around. Okay, so all these yard schedules are going to have from the starting block a green block, and they're going to run out to hiking inner, and they'll have a orangey brown termination point. If I oops, if I do leave from yard B, you can see it's identical in the sense that it has a different start block and then the same ending block. Leave from yard A, same thing. Leave from yard D, it says, okay, you've got to go through yard A and then head out. And then if we look at the return schedules, let's look at let's look at a standard one. Just say we want to return to yard A. It's quite simple. We'll start from here and we'll drive in and stop. Now, whoever's running this yard needs to keep in mind that if he puts a train here, this guy is blocked. And return to yard B is a very similar schedule. But return to yard C is an interesting one. The way I return to yard C, we can only get into it by stopping over here and then reversing in. In other words, if we try to come through this way, we have to go out to a block and stop here. And we could have a route that comes through here, either A or B, and goes back out again and stops here. Or we can drive straight around the outside and stop here. And so you can see here that I in fact have returned to yard C via hiking. So it goes straight past, stops in hiking, and then has a successor that drives it back into yard C. So these are all the schedule construction things that one has to do. Then one has to attach the schedules that you want to start to these buttons. And finally, you have to look at the stopping. So that pretty much describes how we handle the schedules and the stop-start buttons.